Good evening and welcome to tonight's driver's ed class. We'll wait as we normally do for people to sign in. Tonight is the night that we wrap up most everything. We're going to do a little bit tomorrow evening before we do the final. But tonight will be, I'm going to say maybe 6 to 8 questions from the final will be tonight's class. So make sure that you have something to write with and to write on. So hopefully you have a notebook. And I will also brief you on ways that you can study, because we're not going to do any type of online review. That's going to be up to you to do it on your own tomorrow before the final. We are up against the holiday. So hopefully you will spend Thanksgiving with those that are close to you, but not too close. Social distancing. We don't want anybody to get the virus, but we do want to celebrate Thanksgiving, and I think we have a lot to be thankful for this year. Even though we're not in school and doing things that we normally do, if we're at home, we have a roof over our head, and we are healthy, we have something to be thankful for. And if you pass your final tomorrow night, you should be very thankful that you are done with this class. So that is going to be reason to celebrate. You are soon on your way to be a licensed driver. And I am so excited that I could be part of that. So let's try to finish on a strong note tonight and go into tomorrow's final with all the information that we need to do well. 13. Wow, we're almost to a full class. So we're gonna wait just a moment to see who else. Let me take a look who has signed in. I'm just looking on the computer here. Looks like we are missing 2 people. It seems strange that none of you have met one another. Now, I know by looking at the YouTube comments that you are classmates. We have 2 students, one from Newt High School. For those of you that didn't know, we have someone from Milton, New Hampshire in this class, and we have someone from Dover High School, Dover, New Hampshire. So I am so glad that they were able to find the driving school and to participate. They did very well in their driving. One will finish tomorrow, and one will hopefully finish sometime next week. As I would say, the majority of you should probably be done by mid-week, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So, because I don't start a class right off, so I'm going to be able to give you a lot of good driving times. So let's get right into tonight's topic. And I told you I apologize. For some reason in this class, I was just lagging behind the whole time. There was really one PowerPoint that I wanted to show you. It was only about 15 minutes long. It was on filling up with fuel. And did you know that I was notified by the state? The state requested that I do not let any students go to a gas station to fill up with gas. If they were to go to the gas station, I was the one to go outside and to fill the vehicle. They did not want you, once you got in the car, they did not want you to leave. So that is why, if you're wondering, why didn't we ever fill up with gas? I tried to take care of that prior to driving with any of you, but I did have a few of you stop to get gas. So if you wanted to know the reason why, that is why. So the 2 topics tonight, highway driving and sharing the road with large trucks, motorcycles, pedestrians, and bicycles will be covered. Lots of little tiny video clips tonight, so you won't have to be listening to me the whole time. But I'm going to take you through step by step some of the finer points of how to deal with some of these things, what to expect when you're merging on a highway, being passed, how to handle a traffic circle, I've taken a lot of you already to a traffic circle, so we already know a lot of these things. But just to have it in your notes so that you can take a look at it, especially if you go to Dover. If you go to Dover, they will take you around that little circle rotary area and get you on the highway. So that will be part of your test. So let's kind of scroll up here and see if I can find expressway driving. Okay, what are the differences and why are they so difficult to drive on? Now, depending on where you live, what state, you're going to see that the terminology will be a little different. So I want you to write down the terms. Highway, interstate highways, excuse me, toll roads, thoroughways, turnpikes, and freeways. These are all roadways where you're going the fastest that you can legally drive in a car. Now, those are 5 terms, and what makes them different is what we have listed down at the bottom. Some you can go super fast. Some have only 1 lane or 2 lanes. Some have like 4 or 5. Some are free. Some will cost money. So this is, I think, why they label some of these roads, some of these terms. All right, so I'm not going to kind of go, term by term to let you know. But I will mention that no matter what roadway that you go on that's above 45 miles per hour is considered a highway. And if you're going to go onto a road that is considered a highway, you better know whether it's free or not. Because at some point you're going to have to pay. Whether you pay at the toll booth or whether you have an Easy Pass or whether they send you a bill in the mail. And remember, they do that in some states. If you do not have money or you don't have an Easy Pass, they take the registration address and they send you the bill. So it's your responsibility to get it paid. 2 main reasons why we have superhighways, roads that go extremely fast. 1, it gets you to where you want to go a lot sooner, and you have a better chance of getting there safely. And those are really what we want to accomplish. We don't want to waste time or fuel getting to where we want to go. And we want to get there without a high risk of injury or death. But here is the rub. Here is the catch. Okay, and this is why a lot of people ask me, Mr. Toll, how come we don't go on the highway until the last part of driver's ed? Because if you cannot maintain good speed at 30, 35, or good lane position, why in the world would I ever want to put you up on a highway? Because you will be traveling faster. You will have lanes next to you, and if you have a hard time with staying centered and you're too far left or right, it's going to, really show up when you're on a highway. So this is what I want you to write down. The problem is that you have to think quicker, react faster when you're on a highway. If you're a timid, shy, laid-back type of person, you could be eaten alive being on a highway. People will take advantage of the slow driver. Just like if you're walking in the mall, people will be passing and cutting in front of you all the time if you do not keep the pace of what the average person walking in the mall is. Okay, and just like if you're going too fast, people will probably bump into you or cause you problems if you're going too fast. So you want to be somewhere in the middle. You don't want to be too fast. You don't want to be too slow. You want to be that person in the middle lane on a highway. You want to be the person that has good spacing, good speed, good position. And you'll get to where you want to go. Plenty of time to spare, and you'll be safe. The state of New Hampshire uses 2 terms, controlled access and limited access. They mean the same. So write that down, controlled access, limited access. The worksheet that I gave you, and by the way, some people still haven't turned it in, go to the remote Facebook page, download those, the crash report. I wanted that in, and I wanted the highway worksheet done. And by the way, you can take the final tomorrow, but if you don't have all your work in, like 90% of it in, you're not going to get your papers. So, I can get after you, to hand the stuff in. If you don't, You're prolonging when you're going to get your paperwork. So make sure that you have it to me. And make sure your parents have signed that observation form that is on the remote Facebook page. That's posted there too. So if you really want to know what you've done, just go to the Facebook page. Take a look at all the things that I've sent out to you. That is the requirement. Okay, and the links to the questions to the chapters, at least the chapters that I wanted done. Interchanges, no, that is an underpass and an overpass. We've got a picture to the right here showing you multi-lane highway with multiple interchanges. So you have probably at least 6 probably major roads that are intersecting, going north, south, east, west. The last term that I want you to be familiar with is mile markers. They go north, south, or east, west, and they go higher when you go north. They go higher when you go east. All right? They're lower in the west, higher in the east. Why we have mile markers is to notify you how far you've been on that particular road. Used to be very helpful to let people know if you ever break down, rather than saying I broke down on 95. 95 could be, over 100 miles long in some states. Not that long in New Hampshire, but Massachusetts, it's probably over 100 miles. You can't say I'm just on 95. That's too long. So if you said I'm on 95 mile marker 45.6, they're going to be able to go online and pinpoint exactly where you are. Now with GPS, it makes it pretty simple too now, that they can just locate you by what your phone is giving for logistics, where you are. Okay, let's talk about passing. Passing is something that we really never do in driver's ed because we're usually the one on the road going the speed limit. But I always told students, if there was a chance that we could pass legally and safely, I will take you out and I'll let you pass somebody. But it's not like I'm going to drive with somebody and I'm going to say, okay, Mikey, we're going to drive today until we pass somebody. We could drive a whole hour and never find anybody to pass. So it's not something that we look to do. Now, passing is a lot like making a lane change. So if you've gotten comfortable with lane changes, passing is not that different, okay? You are going to be checking your rearview mirror to see if someone's passing you. You want to make sure that there's nobody if it's only a two-way roadway, and this is where you really would have to practice passing if you had oncoming traffic coming towards you, making sure that you have a gap or a hole in traffic that you could pass the car that you're passing and get back into your lane safely with no conflict with cars coming towards you. You do need to get back in your lane within 200 feet of any oncoming vehicles, and you do not want to cut the person that you've just passed off, so you do not move back to your original lane until you can see the person's headlights in your rearview mirror. You do not have to make a shoulder check when you go back on a pass. You put your directional on, you look in your rearview mirror. If you can see the grill of the car you've just passed, then you move over to the right. That should give you probably about 2 to 3 seconds, the spacing that you need from the car that you've just passed. All right, let's take a look at this little clip on passing.
Another common maneuver is passing in the lane of oncoming traffic. It's common, but it's not always safe and must be done cautiously.
It becomes a danger because of the judgment factors that we don't judge distance very well.
The problem is twofold. It's hard to tell how long it's going to take to accelerate to get past the car we're trying to pass. And it's hard to tell how close the car is in the oncoming lane and how fast that car is traveling towards you.
It's risky business because drivers have a hard time judging that dynamic movement.
If you do plan to pass, keep this in mind. An oncoming car or truck does not seem to be traveling as fast as it really is. Here's a good rule of thumb. If an oncoming car is far enough away that it does not seem to be moving at all, then it is generally far enough away for you to safely make your pass. But if you can see that oncoming car is moving, then it's a different story.
If you go out there to look and you see that car looks like it's moving towards you, you better tuck back in again because you're probably too close.
There are other times when it is not safe to pass. If your view is blocked by either a hill or a curve, don't pass. Assume there is an oncoming car or truck just out of sight. Passing requires extreme caution because of the threat of having a head-on collision.
When you talk about having a head-on collision, you're talking about doubling and tripling the forces, and maybe the forces even quadruple, depends on your speed and the nature of the car coming towards you.
Also, avoid passing at intersections. This includes intersecting roads, railroad crossings, even entrances to shopping centers. If you are on a two-lane road, pass only on the left. It is dangerous and usually illegal to pass on the right. The exception is when a car ahead of you signals to make a left turn. If the car in front of you is stopped to make a left-hand turn, never pass to his left. Instead, you may pass to his right on the shoulder. In any event, experts urge drivers to not take passing lightly. It's a common driving task that requires utmost caution. This is Jim Angelo.
So passing is something that you can't take lightly. It's something that you really, need to think about. Because if you have any doubt, you probably shouldn't do it. You may want to try it with your parents at first. That way they can help you out. Because one of the biggest problems, you go to pass somebody and then they speed up. So then what do you do? Okay. What I want you to write down, never try to race them. Never try to go faster than they are. If you go out to pass somebody and they speed up, always go slower. And now, when do I mean, or how much do I mean go slower? Like if it's 55, go like 30, extremely slow. Now, if they go 32, maybe look for a driveway or a roadway to turn off into and just forget about everything. Get that person out of your driving situation because people will sometimes play with you, speed up, slow down according to what you do to keep you over on the left side, especially if there's oncoming cars coming towards you. A couple other special features that I want you to be familiar with. You will not find this in the manual. You will not find this in the textbook, but I think it's extremely helpful to understand about reflectors. Because we have colors of our edge lines on left side, right side of the road, we also have reflectors, and they match the color of the line that's painted on the roadway. So on the left side, you're going to see yellow. On the right side, you're going to see white. And then you're going to have reflectors at the beginning, at the end of guardrails. Now, why is that important to know? Well, wonder if it's nighttime and it's really foggy. You can't see the lines that well. Your eyes are going to be focused up rather than down. You're going to see the reflectors. They will kind of guide you to where the edge of the road, where the pavement ends, and a reflector at the beginning of a guardrail or a beginning of a bridge, anything that is solid that you just don't want to hit will have a red reflector at the beginning of it. And the color of the reflector at the end will be green. So that's telling you, or it could even tell a plow truck, because of snow, they can't see lines, they can't see the guardrail from where other people have plowed. They will see the reflectors sticking up, indicating that there's something, in the snow that if they were to go in the snow, it would probably do some damage to the vehicle. Rumble strips are off to the side, on either side, to alert you of your positioning. Now, of course, we really probably find most people being distracted with their phones, and that's telling them, get off your phone, get back in your lane. But the person that's falling asleep or the drunk driver may overreact to the feeling of the car shaking from the rumble strips. So when you see someone drifting off to the side of the road and you know they're going to hit the rumble strips, be ready for them to drive towards you. They may cross the center line a little bit because they overcorrect too much. So you should be moving over to the right when you see someone drifting because you're getting ready for that overcompensation, getting back on the road. Easy Pass, I think we all know what that is. That is something that's used to scan your vehicle as it goes through a toll booth. It's something that is used in every state in the nation, which is a nice thing because you just get one bill. It's like a debit card. Once you go through it, it scans your vehicle and it will charge your account. So just make sure you have enough money in the account and you're good to go. Now, what do you do if you don't have Easy Pass and you go to another state? Like I said, they will scan your license plate. They will send your fee, which is more than what they would charge you for Easy Pass because there's more of an administration cost to it. So it's going to be a little bit more. I know we just got one. We have a pickup truck that doesn't have Easy Pass in it, and it was $1 toll booth, and it came back as $1.75. So there was a 75 cents. It's not a whole lot, but I mean, if you do it for a whole month and you go back and forth, it could, be, 10, 15, 20 bucks extra if you keep on going through. So there's the mile markers. There's the rumble strips. There's Easy Pass. If you do want to pay full service and pay money, you can do that. So that's good to know. The only thing I want to talk about with the Easy Pass, it's not only for using highways, but it's also going through tunnels and bridges. If you have a chance, okay, write this down. If you have a chance to plan out a trip, always think about the cost of gas and tolls because it does add up. And the very bottom paragraph here, it's talking about bridges. The Chesapeake Bay Bridge went from $2.50 to $4, and the New York, New Jersey Hudson River crossing went from $8 to $12. Now, I believe if you've ever gone through New York City over the George Washington Bridge, I believe it's close to $20 now. That's one way. That's crazy. Think about that. If you work in the city, you're paying $40 a day just to get into the city. That's why public transportation is so important. That's why carpooling is so important. So just read the sign, know basically how many axles you have. That means like tires in the back. So watch for what lane you should be in. I forgot to show you the one with merging. Okay, let's take a look at merging.
It can be a high anxiety situation. You're trying to enter the freeway. Cars on the freeway are whizzing by. You're trying to keep an eye on the cars in front of you. Drivers in the cars behind you are eager for their chance to merge. It can be chaotic, and you're the one at the gate.
Actually, a merge is probably one of your highest risk maneuvers that you do as a driver.
Dr. Terry Klein with Eastern Kentucky University is a leading authority on driving safety and an expert on traffic rules.
It's really a rather tricky maneuver because what we're asking you to do as a driver is pay attention to both the things happening in front of you, the things happening behind you, and the things happening 2 lanes to your left or 2 lanes to your right.
Dr. Klein says this complicates things because as human beings, we can really pay strict attention to only one thing at a time. So as tense as it may be, you've got to learn how to merge if you want to enter a freeway.
The bottom line is that you have to prepare for a merge sooner.
Dr. Klein says to prepare for a merge well before you're actually ready to merge. Identify a gap between cars on the freeway where you can merge. Then, continue increasing your speed until you reach the gap you selected. Dr. Klein says instead of increasing speed, drivers have a tendency to actually slow down before merging. A big mistake.
You have cars behind you coming up, they're trying to enter speed themselves, so you could cause a chain reaction type collision behind you as well.
Dr. Klein says drivers tend to minimize the dangers in merging, and that there are actually more crashes that happen during merging than during passing.
Once on the freeway, adjust your speed to keep a cushion of space around your car.
The closer you get to a car around you, the more they drive you and the less you driving yourself. You become their puppet. They brake, you brake. They speed up, you speed up. They stop suddenly, you stop suddenly.
Finally, once you've merged and adjusted your speed, you probably will change lanes at some point. Some quick pointers. Look around you for a large enough space to move into. Use your mirrors. Turn your head to look quickly to the side before changing lanes. Then make your lane change. Changing lanes, keeping space around your car, and merging. Each is a critical task in our driving experience.
So merging is by far the hardest thing to do on a highway, is getting on. So let's kind of write down a few key points to help you. First is know which direction you're going. So know your ramp. Because some ramps have like an A or a B, which is telling you whether you're going north, south, east, or west. The nice thing now with GPS, it's giving you that audible direction. Before, you would have to have a co-pilot telling you, looking at a map, okay, you've got to take this exit, it's 17A, and you're thinking, 17A, where's 17A? I only see 17B. It gets confusing. But now with GPS telling you, in 200 feet, 17A on the right, it's giving you all that. Keep up your speed on the ramp. Look for a hole in traffic. Try not to stop unless necessary. So make sure you write that down. Allow traffic to make room for you, meaning that if you're going the speed limit on a ramp, like it's 55 on the highway and you're going 50, 55, they're going to probably let you in. But I will tell you, if you're going 40, 45, and everybody else going 55 or 60, nobody wants you in front of them. Nobody's going to help you out. They don't want you in front of them. So keep up your speed, and they'll allow room for you. Blended lanes means that when you come to an underpass, that you're trying to get off the highway, and this is part of that worksheet that I gave you, that clover leaf, and I believe it was down in the second portion of that worksheet. It talked about getting off the highway and entering the ramp to head south. And the answer, I believe, was like P or Q. So getting off and entering the ramp is one in the same place. So that's what you need to know about blended lanes. Blended lanes is that you're trying to get off the highway. Someone is trying to get on the highway on the same little stretch of roadway. It's probably about 150, 200 feet long, but you've got people, and it's like a weave. You're going to the right, they're merging to the left. And it should probably be used almost like a zipper, okay, where when one goes right, the other one goes left, the next one goes right, the next one goes left. So it goes right, left, right, left, right, left. And that's what a zipper lane or a zipper merge, how it would work with an off-ramp, okay? So how do you get onto the highway? Is it just like a lane change? No, it's a little bit different. So rather than doing SMOG, which is signal, mirrors, over the shoulder, go, what you want to do is to speed up. I don't have an acronym for this one. Speed up on the ramp to about 45, 50 miles per hour. Check your rearview mirror first, then your left side mirror, then check over your shoulder in your blind spot, and then signal. The ramp is usually long enough to let you make a quick look in each mirror or over your shoulder, okay, to do it in an orderly fashion. Some of these people that I get in the car and your head's on a swivel and you're going back and forth with your shoulder check, you're so worried about your shoulder check that you really don't spend much time in your rear view, side view mirror. And I find that the experienced drivers, the skilled drivers, you may want to make a note of this on your notes when you go for your driver's test. I believe that when they test you, they see people that check their mirrors a little bit longer, rear view mirror, side view mirror, and process, and then only make one shoulder check. They know that you're a more experienced driver. A person that looks over their shoulder constantly is someone that is so nervous that probably hasn't done it a whole lot, and they're so worried that there's a car right beside them. So by doing it the way I explained, it makes it look like you've done it a million times. Okay? And I've taken most of you out on the highway already. So hopefully this has helped, but I would encourage you to continue to practice with your parents. Getting off the expressway, know your ramp. Use your directional, 500 feet. That could be a question on the final tomorrow. Directionals in the city should be 100 feet. On the highway, it's 500 feet. Don't slow down on the highway. Keep up your speed till you get to the ramp that you're taking. And then once you're on the ramp, then you can slow down. And at the bottom, make sure you indicate which way you want to go. And also position your car left or right to indicate where you're going to be going at the bottom of the ramp. Tips for survival. It's very easy to get bored, so try to stay alert. Check your mirrors frequently. Allow plenty of room when passing. Keep a good following distance. You know, you want your 4 seconds in front of you. Turn signals should always be used when you're making lane changes or getting off the highway. Keep a good steady speed. Stay in the lane that you're supposed to be in, depending on where you want to go. Don't stop unless necessary. So we're talking about flat tire or some type of car problem. And if you are tired or don't feel well, you probably shouldn't be driving. Have someone else drive, or just pull over until you feel a little bit better or feel a little bit rested. And a lot of times you may find a rest area on the highway. So it makes a lot of sense to pull over, get out, walk around the vehicle, stretch, get something to eat or drink. That way you don't fall asleep on some of these long stretches between ramps. Also, be careful who you follow. You never know when something is going to come off the vehicle. So here's a mattress. This was Massachusetts on Route 128, which caused a fatal crash. It would be a shame to know that someone lost their life because someone was foolish enough not to strap down a box spring. Let's talk about traffic circles and roundabouts. The reason why we're seeing more of them is that it's supposed to allow traffic to flow a little bit more freely. It doesn't hold things up as much. There's less chance of collision. So all these things, and it basically started, I think, in the 70s. It says, over in Europe, Australia. But what we're seeing is the United States is starting to use this in many, many areas. And here in New Hampshire, we have down in Dover Point, we just added one. Durham's got a little tiny. And the difference between a circle and a roundabout is the speed that you travel. So the difference, it says, the biggest difference is the size. And a roundabout is smaller in diameter. The goal for slowing speed inside the circle. They said the Lee, when completed, we'll have 2 lanes entering, and we're going to see a little video from that in a minute. But the Portsmouth circle, I find, is easier than the Lee. So Lee is a roundabout, Portsmouth is a circle. All right. So let's take a look at the Lee circle. I'll probably add comment to it as I show it to you. So I think you could probably hear me. As you approach, you want to figure out if you're going to go halfway. Take the first exit or halfway, you need to be in the right lane. If you're going to take the second, third, or go all the way around, then you need to be in the left lane. So here it's showing you the difference between an intersection with a traffic light where there could be conflict, where you could have a crash, whereas notice the bottom picture, it's showing a movement, a flow of traffic, which is going to get more cars through that area in a safer manner. I actually think that they should have made Lee just a little bit bigger. I think these large trucks are having a difficult time. So be very careful when you pull up beside one of these vehicles. I would stay behind it. I would never get beside a large truck. And notice how there's see the crash conflict point? The inside's trying to get out, and you're in the right lane trying to get in. So you've got to yield to what is in the circle. The yield sign is yours as you approach into the circle. It's not for people in the circle. They have the right of way to get in. So you've got to make sure your speed isn't too fast that you could clip someone's back end as you're trying to get out, because they could be slowing up and you could have a difficult time trying to get out. And these are the signs that you're going to see as you approach, telling you the lane that you're in. Here's one to the right is telling you that you could go to the first or the second. See? And those are the 2 areas that you can go. If you want to go further, then it's going to give you the second, third, or all the way around. And they don't give you the option to take the first exit. And that's the circle. Oh, driving through a tunnel. We don't have tunnels in New Hampshire, but I wanted to point this out because my daughter lives in Massachusetts. Both my daughters do. And with one of them, we do have to go through a tunnel. So when we did one time, I was a passenger. My wife was driving, and I took out my phone and I took a picture. So I want you to write down a few things about driving through a tunnel. First of all, it gets very dark. Now, they do have lights down there, but don't be wearing your sunglasses. It really cuts down on what you're able to see. You should always have your headlights on, not so much to see what's happening in front of you, but for people, when they look in their rearview mirror, they pick you up and they see you. Some tunnels actually have exits. So if you're in a tunnel and you need to get an exit which is in the tunnel, make sure you stay to the right lane and stay in that right lane until your exit approaches. Don't get caught in the second, third lane. You may not be able to get over to the right to get your exit in enough time if traffic is very heavy. I would recommend using your side mirrors more than you normally do, and watch for your speed and position, because you'd think people would drive safely in tunnels. Driving in Boston through tunnels, bridges, and stuff, it's like, NASCAR. People are going all over the place. So let's take a look at the tunnel in Massachusetts. So notice the green sign is telling you that we have some exits approaching. So if you wanted to take that exit, you would have been in the far right lane. So we've got 4 lanes right now. I actually want to take Route 1. So I'm in the lane that I know that I'm going to need. So I got into this lane, I should say my wife got into this lane early. So we're gonna be fine. But once again, here's another ramp. You better make sure that you're over to the right. You don't want to be cutting across that crosshatch area to get to your exit. Traffic is kind of light. It was a good day to drive. I think it was probably a Sunday morning that we were in the tunnel. But you can see we've got very good following distance. And you can see that there are brake lights up ahead. So things do kind of clog up a little bit in a tunnel. So be careful about that. All right. Another problem about being on the highway is sharing the road with tractor trailers. They can be scary, especially when they're on all sides of you. So they're left, to the right of you, front and rear. You got no place to go. So you got to be really, really careful. So know their characteristics, know what their limit is. They're about 120 feet long, 80,000 pounds, and they need about 3 times the distance that you need to stop your vehicle. They also make wide turns. I was talking to someone today. When you're in town and you see a display stop line on the left-hand side, they've got that display stop line to help out trucks. Trucks do make deliveries in the city, and it's very hard to maneuver at a 90-degree turn. So they always cross out an area to allow those wide turns. Oh, someone just gave us, look at that. Fun fact, brown tiles and tunnels means that you're under land. Blue tiles mean that you're underwater. How cool is that? Thanks so much for that information, for sharing that, Addison. That is super cool that you told us that. I did not know that. I think in Massachusetts, I don't know if we've got any tunnels that go underwater. I think in New York you do. I think the Lincoln Tunnel goes underwater. So that would be interesting. I'm going to try to get some pictures and put that in my PowerPoint. So, hey, I learned something tonight. That's awesome. Thanks so much. No zones you do need to know for your finals, so write that down. And we're going to be seeing more about that. But no zones are areas that we know are blind spots, but what they're saying is no zones are areas that you should not be traveling. Okay, so yes, they're blind spots, but we're talking about traveling in those areas. So do not drive in blind spot areas anything more than 5 to 10 seconds, because a truck driver just may lose sight of you. So let's take a look at trucks.
Hello, my name is Ralph Garcia, and I'm a professional truck driver with 37 years experience on the road with 3.5 million miles of safe driving. Today you're going to have the opportunity to hear firsthand from professional truck drivers how to maneuver around a truck safely. First of all, let's go over some tips before we get started. Never cut in front of a truck. Give us enough room. Second, stay out of the blind spots around the truck. Third, have enough cushion behind us. Don't follow too closely so you have enough time to stop. Also, trucks make wide right turns. Give us enough space to do those turns. And if you break down on the side of the road, make sure you get far enough off the road that you're safe. And last but not least, distracted driving. Don't text and drive. Stay off that phone. Let's get started, and we're going to hear from our drivers.
Hey, I'm Alan Boyd. I've been driving trucks professionally for 35 years. I know I don't look that old, right? Scratch that, don't answer. What I've learned is the right side of this truck is the largest blind spot we have. This blind spot can actually go over 3 lanes wide. I can lose a whole tractor and trailer. So it's very important when you get in this position to get yourself out as quickly as you can. Did you know that 35% of all car-truck related accidents, the car is in the truck driver's blind spot? Well, it's true. And how do you know that you're in the blind spot? In this position, it's very important to make sure you can see that driver's smiling face in the mirror. If you can't see that truck driver smiling face in the mirror, he can't see you. Remember, when that truck moves over to the left lane to let you off a ramp, that brings you out into this position, and that's okay. Make sure you slow down a little bit, allow the truck time to get back in front of you. That allows everybody to pass on the left where it's a lot safer. Remember to make good decisions when you drive.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Lewis. I've been a professional truck driver for 28 years, have 1.4 million safe driving miles. And today I want to talk to you about the rear blind spot of a tractor trailer. First of all, I want to tell you where I do not want you. I don't want you tailgating me. You know why? If I make a sudden stop, guess where you may end up? It's right here. I don't want you there. One other thing, I'm a big guy and I drive a pretty big truck. If there's an object in the road, I can straddle it. And if I straddle it and it comes out and you don't see it, you will not have time to react. Think about that object as an alligator. You don't want that alligator to bite you. So I want you 20 car lengths behind me where I can see you. If you can see my mirror, you're in a safe spot where I can see you and you can see me. And that's where I want you at.
Hello, my name's Don Biggerstaff. I'm a professional truck driver. I've been in the industry for 37 years and have accumulated 1.4 million safe driving miles. And I'm here today to tell you about one of the blind spots that we have on the truck. The left side, the driver's side. We see you best out of this side from our vantage point in the truck. And this is the side that we want you to pass us on. But I need to make it clear, we do have a small blind spot located about where this car is, right behind the driver's seat in the truck. If you're in this position, we could lose you in our mirrors and not see you. So if you find yourself in this spot beside the truck, we want you to safely maneuver on around us. That keeps us safer and you safer. And really, that's what the Share the Road program is all about.
This is the front end of the truck. The worst thing you could do is cut in front of a truck. Rule of thumb, look in your rear view mirror, and when you can see the whole truck in that mirror, that's the time to come over. That usually puts you 10 car lengths in front of our vehicle. Your car usually weighs 4,000 pounds, and fully loaded, this semi could weigh up to 80,000 pounds. And going 60 miles an hour, it could take the length of a football field and 2 end zones to stop.
So what you're telling me, Ralph, then is that if I'm driving a 4,000 pound car, that'd be 20 times my weight.
That's right.
That'd be like a 200-pound wrestler wrestling a man weighing 4,000 pounds.
Exactly, kind of like me wrestling you.
As a professional driver, I use every means possible to see out of my vehicle. Of course, I don't have the luxury of looking in a rearview mirror like you do in a car, or throwing my arm over the seat and looking at the back windshield. I have to use the tools that's been given me, my windshields and my mirrors, to see what I need to see. That's why this front windshield is so important. It's like my big screen television. It allows me to see what's going on out in front of me. Two other important tools that I have are my mirrors on each side, outside of the truck. I have my right mirror, which allows me to see a narrow path down the right side of my trailer. However, not 2, 3, and 4 lanes over. The mirror on my left-hand side, with head movement, I can see better out of that one, which is the side we want you to pass us on. No matter what I'm doing, I have to focus on my driving. And that's what we want you to do. If we all stay focused on the highway, it'll be a much safer place for all of us.
Distracted driving is just as dangerous as drunk driving. Distractions in your car could be eating, drinking, could be talking to someone, and most common ones are on your phone or texting. Did you know if you travel 60 miles per hour for 6 seconds distracted, that you have actually went the length of a football field? What we want you to do is concentrate on your job, and that's driving.
You know, we had a lot of fun doing this video, and I hope you got the understanding that we're very proud of our record and we're very passionate about safety. And we've interjected some humor to make it fun. However, when you're driving, there is one place that you absolutely must keep your focus, and that's in a construction zone. You know, a construction zone is simply a temporary inconvenience for a major improvement. You know, those guys that are working on that road are working on that road for one reason, and that's to make the highway safer. There's a couple things you need to remember when you're going into a construction zone. Number one, always obey the speed limit. That speed limit is set in place for everybody's safety. Also, the solid white lines are there so that nobody crosses that solid white line. It's very important never to tailgate, and especially not in a construction zone. Because in construction zones, things happen quickly. And the last thing you want is to run into the back of somebody because something happened in front of them. Remember, every one of those construction workers are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and they all want the same thing that you and I do. And no matter who you are, whether you drive a truck, drive a car, or work in that construction zone, everybody's goal is to make the most important trip, the trip home, safely.
Okay, I believe that they did a very good job with laying down the finer points and tips about dealing with large trucks out on the roadway. And it's very easy to get frustrated with truck drivers because, you know, they're human, they make mistakes. They have a hard job to do, so at times we wish that they would, you know, do things a little bit differently. But they are much bigger than we are, so we're going to have to learn how to get along with them on the roadway. No zones, once again, just make sure that you understand that's where you're traveling for long periods of time, you know, more than 5-10 seconds. Those blind spot areas, they're on all sides of the vehicle, front, rear, more so on the right side, like he said, than on the left. Motorcycles. We're starting to see motorcycles be put away for the winter. As long as there's bare pavement, there are some motorcycle riders that will get all, you know, bundled up in leather and, you know, gloves and big coats and snowsuits and stuff and still ride their bike. So we will see some of them out on the roadway. We did a couple days ago when weather was really nice. So just have a basic understanding of how motorcycles operate and how they position themselves on the road is going to be handy. But we do come across some motorcycle riders that, because they can go fast, extremely fast, that they don't follow basic traffic law in this case. And this is New Hampshire, by the way. Can you imagine seeing a motorcycle in your side view mirror or rear view mirror come at you at 185 miles per hour? I mean, that's almost 4 times the speed of the highway. Okay, he's going to be, you know, just a blotch of bone and blood on the pavement. if he was to hit an animal, to hit a bump in the road, which would cause him to lose his balance. I don't understand why people want to go that fast on a motorcycle. If you want to go that fast, go to a speedway, go someplace that is built for speed, and have at it. You know, you knock yourself out. But to do that where there are other cars around, where you could get hurt or you could hurt somebody else, I just don't think that's fair. But I thought I'd show you that even in New Hampshire, we got people driving like idiots on motorcycles. Oh, I forgot to put lane splitting. I did not put, let's see if I can find it. I might have it on my board here. I did not put lane splitting. I don't think, oh, I did. Okay, let's see if this will work, okay? I'm going to unlock this, so just bear with me for a minute. I'm going to see if I could put the video that I had for lane splitting. Yep. Oh, there it is. That's cool. All right, so lane splitting, once you get the average, right side and the left side, there's a lane. So right now, there's not a lane. And that truck did not want him to have any parking. Now, this is where we normally see lane splitting on a highway. Notice he goes right down the dotted line. So you almost know what's going to happen. A car is going to get too close. Okay, he's lucky he didn't get run over by that truck. And of course, this is over in Europe or in a third world country. Now this guy's going extremely fast and lane splitting. This is why you have to check your mirrors. Like I said, even in New Hampshire, we got guys going this fast on motorcycles. I find it kind of odd, too, that we have video of this. How it seems like everybody is videotaping it. Now, this guy's coming to a rotary. He's coming into it too fast. Rotary should be right around 50 miles per hour. So he's coming in too fast, and he loses control.
Дурак, блядь.
So if you're a person that's a car that's off to the right, I mean, you could be involved in that crash and you're just doing nothing. You're just innocently being on the roadway. So this is why it's so important for you to be checking your mirrors. Let me get out of this. Okay, can you hear me now? Oh, thanks for telling me. Okay, got it. I'll go back. Okay. Can you hear me now? When I switched out of the movie. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute to let me know. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, now you can hear me. All right, sorry about that. I switched out of the video, and when I switch out of the video, my microphone never gets unmuted, so I had to manually do it. So thank you, Grayson, for telling me and for calling. I just wasn't going to pick it up. I had no idea what that would do if I picked it up. So I was just talking about motorcycles. You got to be able to judge their speed, know what they're doing. Motorcycle riders are just as much at fault as car drivers when it comes to crashes. But we do know that motorcycles do take a little bit more risk when it comes to making turns and doing things passing than cars do, because they're so small they feel like they can get out of the way. But left-hand turns are probably the number one real issue when it comes to crashes, especially with motorcycles and bikes. Cars just can't see them. They don't see them, or they don't judge their speed very correctly. So what they're doing is they're teaching motorcycle riders how to handle approaching intersections. Let me show you this. I'm training you in a car, and I'm sitting beside you telling you what to do with your speed, your mirror checks, things like that. But how do you teach somebody to ride a motorcycle? Do you actually get on the back of a motorcycle rider and tell them what to do? I mean, that would be kind of scary for the instructor to be at the back of a motorcycle rider who hasn't really ridden a motorcycle that much. So what they do in New Hampshire is you can take a motorcycle course, all right, or you can practice in a parking lot with your friends, with your parents, whoever, and when you feel you're good enough, then you can go out on the road, get a little bit of practice, and then they'll test you a couple weeks later. I highly recommend the motorcycle course, and let me show you what a motorcycle course would actually look like and how they teach it.
We really had fun taking the class. It was something that my husband and I did together, which made it even more special.
I thought, boy, this is going to be, why am I going to go do this? I've been riding so long, there's nothing I can, what are they going to teach me or what are they going to show me? And I was very shocked when I actually took it, and I learned quite a bit from that.
We got the club together and filled up a class, and, in varying level of experience from people who've been riding, 30 and 40 years. And every one of them, when we got done with the class, was worthwhile.
For my family, the very first step of getting into motorcycling was signing up for the motorcycle safety course. Because even before we went out to invest money in buying a motorcycle, it was important for us to learn the intricacies of riding the bike, and you certainly want to be prepared for the road risks.
Since taking that course and learning at least that one technique alone, it's probably saved my life at least 15 times.
I think that there's just as much value in the classroom as there was as physically being on the bike. So when you go out and you get on the bike, all that mental stuff is already in there.
The instructors were very friendly, and they didn't make you feel uncomfortable or weird that you hadn't ridden before. They just eased you right into it. They have you just kind of walking the bikes along as they're on, and you start going around in circles, then you progress into weaving in and out between cones.
And the instructor stood in front of the cones, and at the last moment, he would point left or right, and you had to do like an evasive move. It was just that last split second which way to turn. And if you make a mistake, then you learn from it.
He actually threw it was a piece of block on the ground, like a 2x4, and you actually, instead of going around it, go right through it. It just teaches you that if something's on the road and you're going like 55, 60, There's no sense of trying to go around it. You can't, because you ain't gonna have time to look left and right. Just go right straight through it.
You're constantly scanning ahead, and that's one of the things they teach you in the course. You are looking at the car in front of you, but you're actually looking further down. You're watching those intersections on your side. You know, and these are some of the things that that I never thought about, but the course talked about.
And all of a sudden, I start pulling around the curve, and another guy comes straight over. And if I would not have been aware, and again, this came from the course of being aware of everything that's happening around you, and I was able to stop. But if I'd have kept going, I would probably be a hood ornament at this point.
The maneuvering technique I did learn from the course did help me last year with the accident that I was in, that someone pulled out in front of me. And I was able to maneuver the bike to get around mostly, but the bike did clip the bumper a little bit. But still, I was able to get out unscratched and still walk away.
We were going through a small town, going 30 miles an hour, put my signal on to slow down, to stop, and the bike behind me slammed into me. The first thing I felt was this jerk, and then I heard the instructor's voice saying, hold on, keep the front tires straight, slowly apply your brakes, both the front and the rear brakes slowly, and bring the bike to a slow stop. And that's exactly what happened.
You think you know about bikes, but you do not know about bikes until you take the safety course. You do not know about all the different things that can come at you. You don't pay attention to that when you're just riding without the knowledge. So it can definitely save your life. It's a lifetime lesson that costs nothing.
All right, hopefully you can hear me now. All right. Another way that they will teach you is they take you out into traffic and they have a receiver, a speaker, and a microphone in your helmet, and you can talk to the instructor, and the instructor talks to you, and it gives you some idea of what's going on. So let me show you that clip. This is for left turns.
Okay, let's get in the left lane.
So here you can see the instructor is behind and telling him basically what position to get into.
So let this truck go ahead. Yeah, leave lots of room. Okay, good. So we got a truck up ahead.
Now notice he's closer to the yellow line.
Okay, shoulder check, good.
See, he's gonna,
moving away.
He changed over to the
And then
right.
shoulder check back.
When he thought someone was making a left-hand turn.
Perfect.
Then he goes back over to the yellow line because it's easier for a truck to see him in the left side mirror when he's in this position. So if he was directly in the middle of his lane.
That move will save your life.
So he's coming to another intersection. Notice he's going to go from the left back over to the right. So, like we said, motorcycles can get hidden. So he's
so get ready to do it again.
He's trying to see he's moving off to the right, so that car that's making the turn there at the intersection can see him a little bit better.
Excellent.
And to get away. Turn signals don't always cancel out, so make sure before you pull out in front of a motorcyclist that you're judging two things. Don't just go by their directional. Have they changed their speed? Have they changed their position? Very important. Following distance is the same that you would any other car, but remember they have better use of their front and rear brakes, so they will be stopping sooner than you. So I would stay back a little bit more probably then, because knowing that they're going to stop quicker. They're going to be changing lanes. They're not trying to mess with you at all. They go from left to right just so that you see the motion and you see them and you know that they're there. Or they could be missing something that's in the middle of the road. Bad weather is a problem. Not only is it a traction problem, but it's a vision problem. Remember, by law, they're supposed to have glasses on. So if it's foggy or if it's rainy, you're going to get moisture on your goggles or your glasses. And that's going to, reduce what you can see, the clarity of what you see. Crosswinds, road surface, railroad crossing, all these things are going to create a problem for a motorcycle that's not going to be a problem for you. Oh, another problem for a motorcycle, I get this. Animals, right? What happens when you hit an animal? So you're going to be watching out from the side of the road, animals that could be coming out. Now, I don't think the motorcyclist should have gone over the yellow line right here. Okay, he's lucky. He didn't get more hurt than that. Notice he's able to get right back onto the motorcycle and drive away. And I don't think the deer is there, so I think the deer is okay. But that could have been so much worse. So much worse. Kind of going through some of these things. Okay, let's talk about bike safety. Two things here I want you to write down. One of them will be on the final, so write this down. When passing a bike, every driver of a vehicle shall exercise due care by leaving a reasonable and prudent distance between the vehicle and the bicycle. This is what I want you to know. For every 30 miles per hour that you're for every 10 miles per hour, starting at 30, you've got to be 3 feet away. So when you go up to 40, 4 feet, 50, 5 feet. Okay, so starting at 30 miles per hour, you've got to be at least 3 feet away. Okay, this is just in case he kind of falls off the bike, that you're not going to run over him or you're not going to hit his handlebars. Now, if there is no room to get by the bicyclist with oncoming traffic, you must wait and then pass the bicyclist after the car that is coming towards you goes by. This is called separating and driving. When you separate problems, you got a problem to the right, the bicyclist, you got a problem with oncoming traffic, you got two problems, you're separating them, dealing with one at a time. You're stopping for the oncoming car or slowing down, and then you're going around the bicyclist, so you're separating. If you're coming up over a hill or going around a corner and you don't have enough time to separate, slow down or stop, you're going to go by the bike and the oncoming vehicle with equal distance on either side. So 4 or 5 feet on either side would be what we call compromising, giving equal distance to both problems, just in case one of them gets worse than the other. So let's take a look at bike safety a little bit. And they kind of do this with motorcycle too. So they kind of blend bike safety and motorcycle safety.
Every year, thousands of Californians who ride bicycles or motorcycles are killed or injured in collisions with motorists. Sometimes the cause is the cyclist's behavior. Sometimes it's the motorist's lack of attention. Let's look at some safety tips for sharing the road with bicycles and motorcycles. First of all, as a motorist, you must keep in mind that bicycle and motorcycle riders have the same rights and responsibilities as vehicle drivers while on public roads. Respect their right-of-way because they are entitled to share the road with you. Look carefully for cyclists before making turns, merging into traffic, changing lanes, or when opening doors next to moving traffic. Look over your shoulder and use mirrors before changing lanes. Motorcycles can come into your lane within seconds, which is why looking over your shoulder is essential each time you change lanes. Road hazards such as potholes, gravel, wet surfaces, pavement seams, and railroad crossings pose hazards to cyclists. They may cause them to vary their speed, change direction, or fall suddenly. Drive attentively and be aware of how these conditions affect cyclists. Statistics show that a high percentage of injury collisions are caused by failing to yield the right-of-way to cyclists. Remember, courtesy and common sense promote traffic safety for all, so here's what you can do to help prevent collisions at intersections or roundabouts. Make a visual check and use your mirrors and turn signals before entering an intersection or roundabout. Look for that bicycle or motorcycle rider that just might be in your blind spot. Bicyclists are even more difficult to see and can easily disappear in vehicle blind spots. Follow the right-of-way rules. Remember to yield to any vehicle already in the intersection or arriving first, or to the vehicle on the right that reaches the intersection at the same time as you. This includes bicycle and motorcycle riders. Never assume cyclists will give you the right-of-way. Here are some tips when passing cyclists. Try to avoid passing cyclists on two-lane roads. If you must pass, be patient and pass cyclists on the left when it's safe. As you pass, allow safe clearance between you and the cyclist. Don't squeeze cyclists off the road. Remember, they have just as much right to be there as you do. On freeways, you will at times find a special lane called a high occupancy vehicle or HOV lane. Motorcycles are allowed to ride in these lanes and may very well pass you, so be on the lookout for them. Check your blind spot. The roads are crowded enough, so the best way to prevent a collision is to distance yourself from other vehicles and cyclists. This gives you more time to react and space to maneuver. Allow a cyclist a full lane width. Although it is not illegal to share lanes with cyclists, it is not safe. Allow a 4-second following distance for motorcyclists. You will need this space to avoid collision should the rider fall. Never drive your vehicle in the bicycle lanes. The only exception is when making a right turn. You must be within 200 feet of the corner or a driveway entrance before you can merge into the bicycle lane. Also, do not speed up to overtake a bicycle just before making a right turn. Merge into the turning lane behind the bicyclist, then make the turn. When using a turning lane, watch for bicycles making left and right turns. They are required to use the same turning lanes as vehicles. Look for any hand signals from the bicyclists that indicate they're turning or making a lane change. One final thing you may not be aware of. Bicycles and motorized bicycles are lawfully allowed to ride on certain sections of freeways when there's no alternate route available to them and when signs are posted. As a motorist, remember to keep in mind that bicycle and motorcycle riders have the same rights and responsibilities as vehicle drivers while on public roads. They are entitled to share the road with you, so please respect their right-of-way. Make the roads a safer place for everyone.
Most states now are coming up with very similar rules and regulations like California, so hopefully this was helpful. When you see lane widths and footage questions, it can vary from state to state, but the technique and the tips are pretty much the same, and the same thing that we're trying to do here in New Hampshire. And I know, being in a college town, we're seeing more motor scooters motorized, razors, rollerbladers. We're seeing a lot more people, getting around town other than automobiles. So we have to be aware of anything that has wheels and that we'll find on the right side of the roadway. So we have to be extremely careful of that. But the last group of people, let's see if we can get this here. I'm not going to go through that. You can kind of read through that in the manual. Is pedestrians. Like I said, being in a college town, pedestrians are a big problem. They are. They don't always use crosswalks. They jaywalk a lot. They're on their phones. They've got headphones on. They're looking at their phone, not paying attention. So as a driver, we have to be responsible. And like we said last night, being defensive, if we even have the right of way, sometimes we got to give it up just so that we're not involved in a crash. But it's a shame. And I was watching the news tonight before I signed on to do class about a elderly man, I think in Massachusetts, that lost his life. He was hit by a car yesterday or 2 days ago. It's a shame for you not to be paying, excuse me. It's a shame if you're not paying attention and you don't pick these things up, and especially at night. For those of you that have been driving with me at 4 o'clock, that is the tough time right now. From 4 to 5, it's rough. 3 o'clock, not so much. 5 o'clock, it's probably pretty dark. But that dusk period, it's extremely difficult. So you've got to be on your toes. So let's take a look at what can we do with pedestrians and what should we know. If they're on a crosswalk, they have the right of way. If they're in an alley, a driveway, if they're a blind person, they're always going to have right of way. So we have to think about where do we need to stop so that the blind person or the guide dog will be aware of where we are. Because they're looking for, not looking if they're blind, but I mean the guide dog is looking and sensing when we're too close. So stay back at least 10 to 15 feet. I think that's going to come up in the next slide here, how far you should be from crosswalk. Oh, it says 10 feet at the bottom. It says for most people, a 10-foot distance is sufficient for a person that's blind. I always like a little bit more, so that's why I'm saying 15. I always tell students, if you know if a blind person, can you fit another car in front of you? Then you've got probably enough distance. And the other thing you should put down in your notes, and you're driving my driver's ed vehicle, which is a hybrid, blind people that rely on hearing sound because they can't see, hybrids, it's tough. It's really, really tough for them to get a sense when we're near them because we do shut off. We do not have an audible sound coming from the vehicle. So they may take a little bit more time before they cross in front of you. So, be kind and give them that opportunity to cross the street. What should pedestrians do? They should use crosswalks, look both directions before crossing, always walk on the left side facing traffic, so if you get too close, they can get out of the way. If they're at a crosswalk, they should obey the walk, do not walk signals. At nighttime, they should be seen by using light-colored clothing or carry a light, and it's illegal for them to actually be driving on a highway unless there's an emergency. So that's important. So be smart as a pedestrian. Watch out for joggers, children, animals, certain locations like near schools, playgrounds, certain times of day when you know that you're going to see them. Remember, the fluorescent, the neon yellow crossing sign will always be around schools and where there are crossings for kids. Remember that they may be too young to really judge what a car is doing, so they may do stuff that you quite don't understand. Well, they're young, and they don't understand. Let's see one thing on pedestrians.
Hi, I'm Michelle Yeoh, As an actress, I've been in many dangerous situations on screen, but I always get to walk away. In real life, though, most people don't. So when you're walking near traffic, follow these safe steps and help save lives. Drivers and pedestrians share the responsibility of keeping themselves and others safe. Your eyes and ears are your best safety tools. Avoid using electronic devices that distract your attention. Stay on sidewalks. If there is no footpath, walk on the edge of the road facing oncoming traffic. At a road crossing, stop, look both ways, listen, and then cross. We all have a role in road safety. Follow these safe steps and play your part. For more road safety advice, visit safesteps.com.
The last thing that I'm going to mention is something called the move over law. The move over law means that if a police officer, ambulance, fire truck is off to the side of the road, you need to leave your lane. Go to a lane that's next to you or get as close to the lane that's next to you as possible. You have to give as much room as possible to where the police officer is. Here's a little clip of what happened to one officer when someone got just a little bit too close.
Every year, thousands of law enforcement officers are injured or killed by passing vehicles on our nation's roads and highways. These tragedies don't have to happen. Whenever an emergency vehicle has its lights on, move over away from the emergency vehicle. If you can't change lanes because of traffic, or if you're traveling on a 2-lane road, slow down at least 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit.
Help protect the officers who protect you. Please move over, and if you can't, then slow down. It's the law.
So these rules, the move over rule is in every 50 state, is in every state now, all 50 states. So reduce your speed, they said, by at least 20. Obey the direction of any authorized person directing traffic, signal, or control device. Now, when they mean vacate, they mean leave. Okay, so leave any lane that is partially or wholly blocked. So the officer sometimes parks his car, to protect himself. Like we just saw, the officer that got, hit by that car, he didn't have his vehicle acting as a shield. And that's why they put their vehicle a little bit over the white line, is to act as a shield as they talk to you and give you your ticket. So leave your lane, go to another lane if possible, drop your speed by about 20, give a wide berth without endangering oncoming traffic, people, or emergency vehicles. Distracted driving is what we're going to do tomorrow. So I'm gonna leave that there, and I'm going to get to that tomorrow. So tomorrow, let's deal with tonight. I am going to put questions from Chapter 15 that I didn't do this week up on the remote Facebook page in just a moment, probably in the next 10 minutes. I'll have it posted. A lot of those questions you could see on the final, so it'll be a good sample. I am also going to send to you through text message a link to a YouTube practice test that I did for a review. What I did is I took the old manual, and by the way, if you look at your manual, they only give you 11 sample questions. In the old manual that we used to use in driver's ed, they gave you 100 sample questions. So I took those 100 questions and added some, or took out some and put in some different questions. So I made like a little review, and I put it on YouTube. So I am not going to put that on right now. I'm going to let you do that either later tonight. You could do it tomorrow when you got free time. But I do want you to do the Chapter 15 questions. For those of you that are driving tomorrow, if you want to hand in your textbook, I don't really think that you probably need it if you took good notes. If you've done all your homework, you can hand that in to me. I'll start collecting textbooks from people that would bring them in to me. Please remember to hand in that observation form that your parents are supposed to sign, or just send it to me text message. How many questions on the final? It's 100 questions right now. Okay, whether I add a couple tomorrow, I don't think so, because I'm pretty busy driving tomorrow. I don't have enough time to probably review it. So I'm going to use the test that I used with the last class. So 100 questions, multiple choice. You're going to do it just like you did on the midterm. It will not be heavy on signs, although there will be a few signs. It's going to probably encompass just about everything that we've gone over. And tonight's class, actually, like I said at the beginning of tonight, probably has 8 to 9 questions. So out of the 100, there was quite a few items tonight that we talked about that you will see as questions on the final. So the last 2 weeks from the midterm point would probably be the majority of questions, but then I'll throw in a couple, HTS, registration, colors of signs, things like stuff like that we did at the first half. But it's all multiple choice, so that's the good thing. I do want to see you score above a 75. If you've done all your homework and did the poster video stuff, I will. If you get in the mid 70s, low 70s, 75 is passing. But if you got like a 72, 73, and you did well on other stuff, I'm not going to make you do a retest. But if you get low 70s in the 60s, 65 or above, you need to get. But I will give a retake for people that don't score very well. So we'll do that. So I'm going to go to the remote page and put chapter 15 on. You're going to have enough time. I think tomorrow's class is going to start off talking about distracted driving. I think I've got about maybe 35 minutes worth of material to give you. I think I'm going to show you just one video or two videos about distracted driving. So it could be 40 minutes, but then you've got at least an hour and a half to do it. I think that's what the time limit is. To do the questions, 100, I'll be surprised if you need probably more than 50 minutes. Okay, I think most people get it done in around 40 to 55. Some people go over an hour, but not very many. Because if you know your stuff, you know your stuff. But I think I give you an hour and a half. I think I do. I think I give you 90 minutes on it. Okay. If you think you need more, just text me and I'll see what I can do. I will give you a link to log in, and I also will give you a password. I'm not going to put the password on YouTube. I did that with my last class, and I found out somebody from, I think, Israel or some place was watching class, and he found a way to get the link, and he took the test. I have no idea how he did it, but someone whose email I don't have listed took the test. So if you have any questions, let me know. I do have a 4 o'clock open tomorrow. So I'll take a look and see who wants to drive, who hasn't driven in a while, who wants it, and we'll go from there. If not, then we'll probably drive on Saturday, and then Monday next week, Tuesday, whenever, you guys can drive, and we'll try to finish you up. So I'm going to go sign off right now. I'm going to go on remote Facebook page, give you chapter 15, and then I've got to find the sample review questions for you to do. So I'll be sending that to you in the next 10 minutes. So have a good night, study hard, and I think you guys have done a great job. I have no feeling that you'll only do fantastic. So prove me right. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow.